I'd like to start by introducing our guests today, Neysa Fligor, Yan Zhao, and Bryan Doe. Thank you very much for joining us all this morning. We have a few ground rules for the program. The candidates will have 90 seconds to answer questions. I'll be asking the questions in rotating order. If a candidate names another candidate in a response, the named candidate will be given 1 minute to respond if they desire. The timer will mute candidates if they exceed the time limit. If muted, candidates will have to unmute themselves when next asked a question or otherwise given an opportunity to speak. No interruptions, please, by the audience or by the candidates. And now I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself. Bryan.
Good morning. First, I just want to take an opportunity to thank Mr. David Rock, for giving me the opportunity to be here today. And I also want to thank each and every one of you for being so early in the morning at 8:30 for for a topic most people will not find very exciting. The elections of a special election of a assessor. So thanks for being here. And as you're speaking, I recognize each and every one of you are community leaders, elected official, to be engaged in these topics. So I thank you for being here. My name is Bryan Doe. I'm currently serving on the board at Eastside Union High School District in San Jose. It is probably one of the largest school districts in California for high school. That is not unified, and we have a budget about $400 million. Prior to that, I was a former tech entrepreneur. I exited my company in 2020, and I was a former realtor a decade ago. I've been a long time, been a while, but most of my life has been in tech, and I have the privilege of serving Eastside Union for the last 5 years. I was elected in 2020, and then overwhelmingly re-elected last year. One reason I'm running for this seat is that I think that we can leverage data science and automation to move the office forward in a much better way by modernize and provide greater service to our residents in the entire county at a much lower cost.
Thanks very much. Also, we just wanted to let Neysa and Yan know we do have the 90-second timer on. So thanks, Bryan. Neysa Fligor.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces. So Neysa Fligor, and I'm running to be the next county assessor. And I'm running because I want to make sure the assessor's office continues to work for residents. Based on my experience, my qualifications, my management acumen, and regional leadership, I am the best candidate to do that. My experience includes being the current assistant assessor and previously serving as the special assistant to the assessor and also the attorney to the assessor's office. As the assistant assessor, I am managing the office currently and doing the work of the assessor. And I like to joke that as the assistant assessor, I'm actually doing the work. I'm just not the elected official. My qualifications include having the property tax certification that's legally required to be a California assessor. So if someone has a real estate license brokers, then that's not qualification to be a California assessor. If it's a real estate license appraisal, that is not the legal qualification to be a California assessor. We will hear today talk of technology in the office. I am already modernizing the technology in the office. I joined the executive management team last year, and I got to work immediately replacing the decades-old system. You may hear about customer service. We have a 92% positive customer service rating. Thank you for being here.
Thanks very much. Yan.
Good morning. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak with all of you. I'm running for county assessor because I believe it's time for real change, time for new leadership that puts working families and service first. Right now, the assessor's office is still running on a 40 plus years old system. The contract was just signed to upgrade just in end of June. So I believe, this is time to upgrade, and I believe we can do better. My vision is to take this office to the 21st century, modernize all data system, and improve customer service, making the office more efficient, accessible, and transparent. That means short wait times, clear information, and treating residents as valued customers. I decided to run for assessor in 2023, and I've been preparing myself for this job for the last 2 years. I have worked in the field for over 1,000 hours, appraising hundreds of homes, and earned my state license, appraiser's license from the Bureau of Real Estate Appraisers. I'm the only state licensed appraiser in this race with the most training and hands-on experience. My background is in engineering and technology, a degree in electrical engineering and computer science from UC Berkeley, and a master's degree in electrical engineering from Santa Clara University. I have spending my entire career in Silicon Valley high-tech industry. I know how to use technology to improve efficiency and service. And
now everyone has heard the Oscar music come on. That will be our standard. The time that timer is set to that. I'll begin the round of questions. I'm going to be rotating. Neysa, you're up on this one. I know you've all said what you think you will, want to accomplish, but on a personal basis, can you tell us why you decided to run for assessor?
Thanks, David. I decided to run for assessor, as I said in my opening, because I know the office well. I know the work and I love the work. It's very law driven. And as you know, I'm an attorney and it's also very process driven. And I do well and I thrive in that environment, as I've demonstrated already in the assessor's office. Because of the importance of the assessor's office, we need to make sure that that office is governed well and managed well, and we have the right skill set and expertise leading that office. And based on my experience, as I mentioned, I bring that to the office. As the assistant assessor, I have firsthand experience about the importance of the work. The revenue that's generated from the work in the assessor's office goes to fund public schools, counties, cities, special districts, and all the vital services that we rely on as residents in Santa Clara County. And I care about public service. I've been a public servant for the past several years. I'm currently vice mayor of Los Altos. Before that, I served in my first term as mayor and vice mayor, top vote getter both times. And so I view the assessor's office as an opportunity to give back using my skill sets and education in this capacity and continue to serve the residents of Santa Clara County. The work in the assessor's office is much broader, which I look forward to sharing with this group more about as we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yan.
yes, I mentioned about the reason I decided to run because I see this office needs change, needs improvement. First is technology. Currently, it's running on the 40 plus years of a system, and definitely we can do better. And secondly, this office has never had any educational and outreach programs. I think this is important. Many of the residents are not very familiar with this office, what they do, what kind of programs are available. So this is something I think we can definitely do better. And I mentioned about my background, it's in technology, in engineering. We can definitely use the modern tools to help to improve the service, to improve the efficiency. Also, beyond that, I have been serving on being a long time public servant, 20 years, 8 years on the Saratoga Planning Commission, 9 years on the County Commission on the Status Women, and 7 years on the City Council, and including 2 terms as mayor. I know how to lead with transparency, accountability, and a result. And I believe this office should be a resource to people. And I'm confident we can, with the newer technology, we can make sure the process is going to be efficient. Currently, there are about $150 billion are tied in the appeal process. The appeal takes over 700 days to resolve. I believe we can definitely do better.
Thank you, Yan. Bryan.
Thank you very much. On a personal level, which is what the question asks, I care deeply about our counties and how we can make dramatic change, transformative change in here. what you heard from Yan earlier is essentially a need for change, a need to modernize the office. What we have seen is essentially in the last 40 years that we have the exact same information system. And it's only take until a candidate like Yan, who then run for office, then force the office to change. And they only signed a contract a few months ago. That is not sufficient. A few years ago, where I am certainly currently the board president at Eastside Union, we changed to a new information system. But because it's not just buying a new system, it's about having the people who believe in making progress and believe in the technologies and how it integrate with our current staff that will be able to make meaningful changes. And that's what we did at our school board. And yet at a office that generate one of the largest amount of revenue to the county, yet it took them 40 years. Do we want to do the same things over and expect a different result? Or do we want change? And I think Kenneth, like Yana and I, are looking forward to the opportunity to make changes and do in a meaningful way to provide service at a greater level for our residents and at a lower cost.
Thanks very much. Next question, and I'll begin with Yan. Is there anything Assessor Larry Stone did in the job, anything he did that, any one thing that you think should be done differently?
Thank you. So I think he has done a wonderful job in the past for the last 30 years, but I think we can definitely do better. There's a lot of rooms for improvement. I think we just talk about technology upgrade. Every one of us, every few years, you change it to a new laptop, you change it to a new phone because you want a faster, you want a better. And this county hasn't done anything in the past 30 years. It's the same old system. So I think this is something that we can improve upon. And also, in addition, I talk about establish educational workshops to help residents understand the laws and the regulations of their rights, so they can prepare better. And third one, I think we can do better is treat residents as customers. So then you have a sense of urgency with respect, so you can always want to help your customers. Right now, there's a lot of hurdles and people don't know how to do certain things. I think we should establish, bring educational program workshop to the community, such as go to senior centers, community centers to talk about, Proposition 19, talk about all the programs are available to seniors, disabled and veterans. So there's a lot of things we can do better.
Thanks very much. Next up would be Bryan.
Thank you. First, I want to take the opportunity to express my appreciation for the work that Mr. Larry Stone have done in the last 30 years. He's been a public servant. He's been serving the community. And if you met Larry Stone, you know he's a very likable, very, very amicable gentleman. How can you not like him? Nonetheless, if I was the next county assessor, the following things I would do differently. What you have seen is essentially doing the same thing over and over. And yet today, technologies, we're in the middle of probably just as big as when the internet was in 1995, when Mr. Stone was elected. We have an opportunity today, technologies, to provide 24/7 customer service to each and every one of our residents. So essentially, you would be able to get served whether you are in the 2 in the mornings or on a Sunday or the 9 to 5, and you can do that at a much lower cost. I think that's where I'm different from the current office is we can usher in a new providing the service. Today, what I'm saying may sound strange, but in a few years from now, that it will be the new standard. The public will expect the governments as well as private sector to provide 24/7 customer service. And we can do that, and then we can embrace that and provide that service to each and every one of our residents when they're available.
Thank you. So Larry Stone, as you know, has been our assessor the last 30 years, and I'm honored to have his endorsement. I know others in this race asked for his endorsement, and I obtained his endorsement based on my qualifications and experience. And I'm honored to have it because someone who's been doing the job for 30 years knows the job well. and knows the type of person who can lead that office. Now, I rejoined the county and joined the executive management team for the assessor's office last year, and I immediately got started on changing things that Larry has been doing for the last 30 years, starting with modernizing the technology in the office. And not only have we signed the contract on time and under budget in June, but we've already started implementing this new technology solution. We've invested time, resources, and county dollars in the implementation, and we're off and running, and the entire team in the office is on board. I also want to make the distinction. I know, tech sector is completely different from public sector, and I have experience working in the public sector, and being able to navigate that process to effect change and bring about change in the assessor's office is very critical, especially during these times of budget uncertainty. And again, we're hearing a lot about technology. We need technology to do the work in the office, but it's not the work done in the office. We do audits, appraisals, assessments, and I'm the only one with the qualifications to lead such an office. Thank you.
Thank you, each of you. Thanks, each of you, for your answers. Next question, I'm going to start with Yan. Where do each of you stand on the upcoming Santa Clara County Measure A 5/8 cent healthcare sales tax ballot measure? Yan?
Yes, Measure A. I know currently our county is facing a crisis. This is crisis not due of our own, but because of federal cut. And if we do nothing to fill this shortfall, and our county might face closing, hospitals and reduce emergency services and put people's life in jeopardy. So this Measure A will help generate a $330 million of revenue to keep our hospital open to provide emergency services. So I'll definitely be supporting Measure A, even though I know many families are struggling, for the high cost living. Under normal stances, I don't think, sales tax is a good tool for in better circumstances. But unfortunately, at this moment, we don't see other options. We need this revenue to keep our hospitals open. And in addition, this is a temporary measure, and it's very targeted and essential. And in this Measure A has a safeguard for auditing, independent auditing, has oversight and a clear sunset after 5 years. I know no one likes more tax, but this is a tax that needed to keep our hospitals open. So this is a very sensible choice, and this tax will help our county to protect health and the safety of our residents. Yes, I'll be supporting Measure A.
Thanks very much. Neysa?
Thanks, David. Yes, I am also supporting Measure A, and I will not repeat what Jan has already described as the reason for the measure. But what I will share is I have firsthand experience as the assistant assessor in the office and a county employee, the impact that the federal cuts is already having on our county and our staff. Last budget, which I had firsthand role in creating for our office, we had to identify targets in Object 2 for our office, and Object 2 relates to supplies and services in the office. Object 1 are salaries and compensation. And I worked alongside the executive management team to identify where we can make cuts for Object 2, and we successfully did that without impacting operations. I also want to go back to, some of the things we're doing in the office related to outreach. The assessor's office has always done community engagement and outreach, but when I joined the executive management team last year, I immediately got to work and started doing it a little bit differently, where we are going out in the community and we are educating folks about the programs and services and exemptions. So I'm happy to hear when candidates talk about things I am already doing successfully in the office. On the appeals, just to clarify the facts, we have a small percent of appeals pending. Yes, they're large value, but it's really a small percent. As the only attorney, I will move them forward.
Thank you. Bryan.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give a little more nuanced answer to the Measure A and give an example of what I've done at Eastside Union when a similar situation arises. The county's decision we as the resident of County of Santa Clara is going to facing is between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, if you pass the Measure A, you can hurt small businesses and effectively hurt the resident because of the rising costs. And sales tax is a regressive tax, which means those who have the less income, especially seniors and those who are on the especially in the on the low socioeconomic spectrums are hurt by the sales tax. On the other hand, if you don't pass the sales tax, hospital will be hurt, and some of our most vulnerable members of the community, seniors, as well as those on the east side of San Jose will be hurt because that's exactly where the hospitals are located. The issues that we have is that we need to encourage and not if no. We have to strongly encourage the county to make efficiencies and operational changes to reduce their costs. As much as we are going to, the sales tax is about $300+ million, you need to do the county need to do a similar, if not greater, reductions in their operational costs in order to support the measure. And that's exactly what I've asked for at Eastside Union. Sorry.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask each of you a question that's only for you only. We'll start with Neysa. A recent San Jose Mercury News headline read, "Following Santa Clara County Assessor Larry Stone's resignation, a special election to replace him will cost at least $13.1 million. Do you feel it was wise for Larry Stone to retire early rather than serving his full term and thus it would have saved taxpayers millions of dollars?"
Thanks for the question, David. How I'm going to answer that question is really to encourage you to invite Larry onto this program so he can answer that question. He said publicly that he was retiring at that time for personal reasons, and I never question someone's personal reasons for making a decision like that. 2 points on the cost of the election. It is very unfortunate, and especially during this budget crisis that we're all facing, I don't think anyone would want to have that cost placed on the county by choice. And so, if you're asking me whether or not I'd prefer that hadn't happened, 100%. If there was a way to avoid that cost, 100%, I would have been supportive of that. With regards to the cost of the election, as you know, there are now 3 items on the ballot. In November, we have Prop 50, we have Measure A, which we just talked about, and we have the assessor's race. The governor of California has publicly stated that he will cover the cost of the special election in all 58 counties. And so that will cover most of the cost of our election here in Santa Clara County. And I think the headline you're referring to was before Prop 50 and Measure A. All of this to me underscores the importance of our office and ensuring that it's governed well. Because the revenue generated from our office is so critical, we need the right leader in that office. Thank you.
Thank you. Yan, the San Jose Mercury News recently wrote of you, quote, "She says her strong technical expertise could help her modernize the office's assessment software and customer service system. But that software modernization is already underway. Meanwhile, Zhao lacks a legal background and commercial appraisal experience." Do you have any response to what was in the Mercury News?
Definitely. So I just mentioned the contract was just signed end of June. Anybody who's technology background, this is not something you can just turn on the switch and bring a new system. It takes years of integration. Anyone who has worked ever, upgrade the software in our company, it takes 3 years to 5 years. I talked to actually other assessors. They talked to me, said, there's no way you can get it done. This is nothing like a switching a light, right? You got to take years, make sure all the features, every integration is well done. Y'all have the backup system to make sure if anything happens and the system is not going to cramp down. So that's one. It's not something, it's just started and they waited for 30 years. After I start talking about modernizing the office, we quickly signed the contract. Secondly, the lack of a commercial experience. I am the only one actually have training in the field for appraised house, hundreds of house, and no one, actually has any commercial. I actually done a few. Lastly, the legal requirement. There's no legal requirement to serve as a assessor. As a matter of fact, only 2 out of 58 assessors has a legal background. So this is we have a legal team to work with. So there's no requirement for any assessor to have the legal background.
Thank you. Bryan, the San Jose Mercury News recently wrote of you, Doe, quote, Doe says the assessor's office's rising values under appeal necessitate technological modernization and a startup mentality, which he claims his history as an investor and startup founder qualify him to implement. However, Doe is not willing to share a resume with our editorial board, and his LinkedIn profile mentions companies that have no discernible online presence. End quote. Do you have any response to what the Merc said?
Yes. First of all, I haven't chance to read the actual article, but I have the little clip have been sent to me. I have not had to apply for a job for probably 2 decades or so. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have a resume anymore. The last time I had a resume probably, like I said, maybe 20 years ago, and my LinkedIn have not been, until recently. When I say recently, a few days ago, I have not updated since the day it was found. So. I was elected. In fact, even until recently, I've been marked the fact that I've been elected for the last 5 years. Partly because I haven't looked for a job, but because of the murky news and prodding from my friends, I am slowly updating my LinkedIn profile. So I would then add companies like Hewlett Packard and Barnes and of course Eastside Union, so that the murky can then Google those company up. So they actually do exist.
Thanks very much. Each candidate can now take 30 seconds to ask one of the other candidates a question. And I'm going to start with Bryan.
I have no question for my fellow candidate, but I do want to say that I think there's a difference between what candidate like Yana and I are talking about. We're talking about change. We're talking about making improvement, and what the other candidates looking for about doing the same things and same things and hoping for a better outcome.
Thank you. Neysa.
I guess I'll ask Bryan a question because he just mentioned Hewlett Packard. When did you work at Hewlett Packard? As a former HP tech attorney,
Yes.
I'm curious hearing
Yeah,
a
yeah.
fellow
I was a
HP person.
contractor's, yeah, yeah. I was a contractor's consultant for Hewlett Packard in the 90s when I was in college. And then they hired me, and my title was knowledge engineer. Knowledge engineer was Hewlett Packard term for what is the expert systems, which then today we call it AI. But in the 90s, that's exactly what I did. My boss then recruited me to a startups that essentially does what today is a technology would allow you to order movies on your remote control, which is pretty standard now. But in the late 90s and early 2000, that is considered revolutionary. Our technology was then acquired by, I think, a much larger firm. But that is like obviously that technology is being used today. However,
Right.
you and I share the same, at least some portions. I don't know how when you were, well, you're still there, but I don't know when you started. But I was in the 90s. I started as a college kid, and
Oh, wow.
they recruited me, and
1990.
I did. The biggest thing is I received from Hewlett Packard besides the training for negotiation and project management. They sent pay me to UC Santa Cruz to get my project management certifications.
Awesome.
Thanks very much. Yan, do you have a question for either of the other two candidates?
Yes, I have a question for Neysa. So Neysa claims you're the only candidate who has a required property tax certificate. Do you know that you can only get that when you work in the office? This is for government employees. And I just want to make sure when you talk about this is the highest, that's a must. It's a minimum requirement to work in the office.
So let me expand on that. And because there is a reason why there's a requirement you work in the office. So very similar to the sheriff's office where you need law enforcement background or the district attorney where you need a legal background. For the assessor position, it is important that you're able to demonstrate that you are in the office doing the work, you know the work, and then you take that comprehensive exam. And so being in the office, you're correct. You get to work not just on fee simple real estate, appraisal, residential, but commercial, business, personal property, mobile homes, aircrafts, boats, vessels. And so you get the breadth of the work we do in the assessor's office. And that's why it legally requires you to be in the office doing the work before you can be a property tax certified appraiser that qualifies you to be a California assessor. And that's why I talk about, I have my real estate broker's license. It has expired, but that would not qualify me to be a California assessor because I've not done the work. I'm not in the office doing the work. Same thing with a real estate appraisal license. Regardless of how much work and residential work or studies that have been done, that still is not enough to qualify you for the commercial work, the business, personal property, the boats and aircrafts, the airports that we assess. The work in the office is vast and it's complex, and it really requires a specialized expertise to do that work and to do it on day one. In this budget crisis in the county, we cannot risk having this office not be governed well and by someone who doesn't have the expertise to hit the ground running.
Thank you. Thank you all for those questions. For each of you, any closing thoughts or remarks, and I'll start with Yan.
Thank you. On top of that, thank you again for the opportunity to speaking with all of you. Speaking of the certificate, anyone who got hired in the assessor's office, you have a 1 year to take a class and pass the exam, and then you are qualified to serve. And I have actually done that before I even get elected. I have taken the class. I have studied. If I'm elected to the office, I will have the certificate to serve as assessor. And beyond that, I mentioned I actually take additional more classes and work in the field. I think I'm the only one who actually go out, appraise houses. I know how houses are assessed. I know how houses are assessed fairly and accurately. This is something that, on top of that, I'm also with the engineering training. I know how to use technology to help to make the service more efficient and transparent to our residents. My goal is to improve people's life and ensure the office works better for everyone and make sure we can deliver fairness, accuracy, and transparency. This is something that I'm determined to this assessor's office. This important office shouldn't be handed down by insiders. We all know, we have this special because someone is trying to pass this office to an insider. But I believe this important office should be earned, not by handed down by someone.
Thanks very much. Bryan.
Thank you. I think you're going to hear a lot about the certification, the type of certifications that each one of my fellow candidates have. At the end of the day, I don't think any reasonable person think that that is the real barrier. I think the real distinctions, what we're really talking about in this race, is about change. If you want things the same old way, then you support the status quo. You vote for the status quo. But if you want change, and I appreciate what candidates like Yan have done, she forced to get our force to make changes. The mere fact that her running and raising money and getting endorsements have forced the office to purchase a new systems a few months before the elections. And I appreciate that because the office is about 30, 40 years behind in technologies. But it's not enough that you buy a new system. You do have to integrate. You do have to make the difference. And what I'm proposing is that we provide a greater service to our residents. Our residents deserve to be able to be supported in all languages, whether that is English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Chinese, etc. We need to be able to provide that, and we want to provide that service 24/7. And now that may sound strange today, but I assure you in a few years from now, that will be the new standard. And candidates like myself are looking forward to moving the office forward.
Well, thank you, David, and thanks again, everybody, for joining us this morning. I've said why I'm running, and I've made it clear that I am the only candidate with the right qualifications, experience, leadership, and management acumen to continue to lead this office and ensure stability, especially in these uncertain times, but also move the office forward, increase community engagement, and to support our team. There's a lot of talk about status quo. When I joined the executive management team last year, I got to work immediately and already started making changes in the office. So it is about making sure that we have that stability while moving us forward. With regards to the technology, the office has been trying for the last 19 years to get off the decades-old COBOL system. And it took my leadership last year when I rejoined the executive management team to get it done. I deliver results as a regional leader. As president of the Cities Association, I led initiatives across the county and represented each city. And I will continue to be the voice when I'm assessor, representing all cities and being the voice for all county residents. There are 3 other candidates in the race, and you'll hear them say they're going to do things that I am already doing. They're going to fix things that aren't broken, and they're going to do things that an assessor does not have the authority to do. What that tells you is they do not know the office and they're not ready to lead. Thank you so much again for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Once again, Bryan, Neysa, and Yan, thanks so much for the conversation. I'll open it up now to questions from the audience. Please raise your virtual hand and I'll call on you. Remember, 1 question per person and no speeches, please. Please raise your hands now, as we're going to try to end promptly by 9:30, and I need to get a sense of how many people have questions up front. First up is Jonathan Weinberg.
All the candidates. Just in the interest of transparency, I want to state that I personally have endorsed Neysa, and I've also donated her campaign. One thing that I haven't heard discussed today is the relationship between the assessor and the staff who work in the assessor's office. Several years ago, there was a very high-profile bump in the road in that relationship, and I was wondering if each of the candidates could talk about that a little bit, what their impressions are about the relationship between the executive team and the rank and file in the office, what your experiences are dealing with labor, and how you think you can improve things in the office.
I'll start with Yan.
Thank you. Definitely. I heard there were tensions between the management team and the employees. And during the COVID, and employees were forced to work in the office. And I know there were some resentment, and I don't think employee was treated with respect, with trust. They don't believe, the management don't believe people can actually do the productive work at home. So I think that was definitely a tension. For me, my style is more as a leader. My style is by working with people, by listening, by respect every views, by collaboration, and bring everybody on board so that, we all have a shared vision and goal so that we can move forward. That's my leadership style, and I have worked in the past. As a council member, city mayor, we have worked with union members, so we have great relationship, and I'm plan to continue to bring that leadership style to the assessor's office to make sure we provide the better working environment, training they needed to move forward. Everybody has share the shared goal, and so that we can provide the best service to our residents.
Thank you. Neysa.
Thank you, and thanks for that question, Jonathan. I hope everyone has seen the Mercury News endorsement endorsing me as the best candidate to be the next assessor. But in that article, they also highlighted the fact that I received the sole endorsement of the union, along with former assessor Larry Stone. And it's no secret that historically, Larry and the union have not gotten along. And the fact that I have the sole endorsement and other candidates sought this endorsement and they selected me unanimously. They voted for me after working with me in the office because they've seen my leadership. They know my approach to leadership and they know I can work well with staff. And so it speaks volumes to know that I have the support of most of our employees, SEIU and SEMA, which make up 95% of our employees. And I'll continue to work with them as part of the executive management team. And then when I become assessor, I will tell you, I've been a council member. I'm currently a vice mayor. And working with unions as, a school board member or a council member is completely different from working with unions as a county department head or a county leader. And I have experience doing that. And even with, my experience doing that, I still have their support. So not only do I have the experience of an elected official working with unions, I have the direct experience and the relevant experience working with unions. And that's why when you're looking at the assessor, you need strong leadership in this office because the work is complex, but it's fast.
Thank you. Bryan.
Thank you very much. We all have read about the challenges that Mr. Stone has with the unions, with his employees. Just as years ago, we used to read about the challenges that you have at Eastside Union High School District, where I'm currently the board president. And yet, in the last few years, even some of the largest, most dramatic changes that we see at our school board, we during my presidencies, the unions, both unions, have a much better relationship with the management. They have a much better relationship with the board than ever before. In fact, right now, one of the things I'm very been busy at Eastside Union is that we've been redistricting. Typically, a very contentious and very that's probably put to mildly, and you're going to pit community against each other. Yet Eastside Union during the last few months, we have come, even though there are differences of opinion, we have come to have a much more, I would say, amicable and resolutions, and partly because the way how I approach that relationship by listening, by engaging, by continuing to learn from each other. And that is part of the training that some of my colleagues on the board have ushered in a new era of engaging in a much more meaningful way. If I'm the next county assessor, I would do exactly that. The same training that I've done at Eastside Unions, that engagement with each other, that we will do with our employees so that we can provide the leadership that I think that the office of county assessor need.
Thank you. I'm looking for other hands up. Well, I think that.
I'll pose a question.
Oh, okay. Who's that? Janine?
Tis I.
Hi. Okay, go ahead.
Hi. Mine is a little bit more philosophical. It has to do with the issue of property tax, holding it down low, old Prop 13, etc. Just want to know your general philosophies on the balance between trying to raise city income versus trying to not price people out of their very own homes. Thank you.
Great question. Neysa, would you like to answer first?
Thank you. And thanks, Janine, for the question. I don't think any of us has said this yet. So just to be clear, the assessor does not have the authority to make laws or ordinances or pass policies similar to what Janine may be referring to. It's all done at the state level. We have 58 counties and all assessors in the 58 counties are governed by the same state laws, propositions, and Board of Equalization regulations. So as an assessor, I would not have the ability to influence, and I know it's more of a philosophical question, but I think it's worth noting because I know there are other candidates saying they're going to do things that they don't have the authority to do. And so I want to make it very clear what we do and we don't have the authority to do. I have been endorsed by a number of assessors across the state. I've been able to work with them as a member of the California Assessors Association. And we talk about things like this, both how it's impacting our office and the administration of these propositions, but then also, where do we see these going? Proposition 13, we had Proposition 19 that went into effect in 2021. Our office is still educating and answering a lot of questions about implementing Proposition 19. So with regards to Proposition 13, which caps both residential and commercial at 2%, I actually don't see, any changes happening anytime soon. But if it does, as the assessor, I would be open to seeing what's the best approach for Santa Clara County.
Thank you. Yan.
Jeannie, thank you for the question. Yes, as assessor, we don't have the authority to set the tax laws. We are here only to implement. Our responsibility as assessor is to fairly and accurately implement the laws that the voters and the state legislature put in place. And as we talk about, people are concerned about, do we have enough for the funds for schools, for the essential services we need? At the same time, is fair to tax others more than the talk about uh, accuracy and fairly. So I think it's important. This office is administrative, operational type of office. We want to carry out the laws, with fairness, transparency, and accuracy. That's what we're tasked to do, and that's what I plan to do.
Thank you. Bryan.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenny, for the questions. On these questions, I'm going to be more direct. It's a philosophical question. I would say I absolutely support Prop 13. But I do agree with my fellow candidate that are on this panel today that this is an administrative office, and the role of the office of the assessor is to provide a fair, accurate, and consistent assessment role, and you want to do that efficiently. Why the comment, I think one of my fellow candidates mentioned earlier, it was probably regarding to a candidate that's not here in this today, to make promise about exemption to seniors that, frankly, does not the authority of the assessor. We do not have the authority to exempt, make additional exempt to any particular class or category of voters or residents. But when it came to Prop 13, I want to reemphasize, I support the maintaining the way it's intended by the voter until the voter change their mind. The job of the assessor to execute with fidelity to the exact as the state law is required.
Thanks very
Thank you
much.
to all three.
I see one hand up. It's Jim Fenton's. That will be the last question, so we can end on time. I know that a number of people, including in the candidates and the audience, need to wrap up by 9:30. Jim, your question.
Thanks. There's been a lot of talk about the IT systems in the assessor's office being out of date and so forth. And like most citizens, I don't have visibility into those systems really, except that when I go to the assessor website, I can generally find the information I'm looking for. I can get assessor maps. I can find assessed values and that sort of thing that I'm looking for. So can someone describe what the shortfall is and what will be better as a result of the new systems that I understand are already in progress?
Before I select who is going to answer in what order, I just wanted to, I know that we're getting close to the wrap-up time, so I wanted to just make a few announcements. Our next meeting will be on Friday, October 17th, 2 weeks from today. This is a special early start time. It'll be between 8 and 9. Please join us for a discussion entitled Santa Clara County Measure A, 5A cents Healthcare Sales Tax with Supervisor Margaret Abi-Koga. It should be a great discussion. If you would like to be added to the LACC mailing list, please send an email to info@losaltoscommunitycoalition.org. This email is now posted in the chat for your convenience. And LACC is a fiscally sponsored project of LAMVCF's Local Impact Collective. Thanks very much to the Community Foundation for their ongoing support. And now to answer Jim's question, Bryan Doe.
I will leave the supposed improvement to Neysa, since that is what she's claimed she's doing right now. However, what I'm proposing is a little different. What I'm proposing is we provide 24/7 customer service, because current technologies will allow two things. One is the automation of the process to be much more efficient, so that we can allocate our resource better. It is not what you're facing, by the way, Mr. Fenton, essentially is the customer facing, which is the website, which is basically very basic information. The process I'm referring to is a 24/7 customer service. So if someone want to call in and said, "Hey, I don't agree, I don't understand why my number is the way it is," someone provide that. Typically, you have to come into the office, or you wait in line. You're hoping that somebody will respond to you within 24 hours. What I'm proposing is we can do this much more efficiently. We can do it pretty much instantaneously, that someone can pick up the phone and answer to you. And it's really technology is really answering, and it's answering about the 95% of the question that you'll be asking will be an answer. And if you need that additional, you can still come to the office. You can still have a human being addressing your need in a more direct about your specific scenario. But more importantly, this is a way to do it, and we can do it cheaper than what currently proposed.
Thank you. Yan.
Thank you for the question. When we talk about this system, it's 40 plus years old. When I say we need to upgrade because it is slow, it is on the mainframe, it's using COBOL language. The cost of maintenance is so high now because schools don't even teach this language. And the reason I say we need a better system to make an efficiency right now, the system is so slow. You want to enter something, it takes time. If you have a faster system, it could be done much faster. Secondly, and right now, the map is done. You updated weekly. We can definitely make this is on real time, because a lot of time you cannot do real time because the system limitation. So there's a lot of improvement we can do in terms of a customer service, in terms of efficiency, in terms of how to make a user friendly. This is all can be done. The reason we like iPhone because it's so easy to use. You can easy to navigate. This is all this technology features we can definitely implement. When we talk about we just signed a contract, a couple months ago, there's a lot of more to be done actually when how you're going to implement a particular feature. I have worked in industry. It's not something you have a spec and how you're going to implement. Sometimes it's a different story. I have the experience. I'm the engineer. I know how to get things done. I know how to solve problems. This is actually my strength and work in the government, and also give me the experience leading the team to do it.
Thank you. Neysa.
Thank you, David, and I appreciate Bryan recognizing that I am the best one suited to answer this question, and thanks for the question, Jim. Let me quickly address the customer service piece. Currently in our office, we provide customer service surveys online, in person, and on the phone, and we have a policy that if you're not able to pick up the phone, when someone calls, you get back to them within 24 hours, and that explains our 92.8% positive customer service rating. As I've always said, there is always room for improvement, and I'm happy to share Bryan's recommendation with the engineers we already have on our team to see if this is something we can implement in this new solution we're already implementing. But as I've said, the work of the assessor is much broader than implementing the new technology solution. It requires you having a property tax knowledge that's vast and complex, and I'm the only one with the property tax certification to do that. Going back to the technology that we are currently implemented, we signed the contract under budget in June, and we are already implementing this solution. And what it does, Jim, is it basically automates the workflow processes for our different divisions. A lot of what they're doing right now is on this 40-year-old COBOL system that I got on board last year and it immediately changed. And so they have to now, do a lot of manual processes. The data doesn't move from one division to the next. You've seen those screens from that 40-year-old decade system. We will change that.
Thank you. And I just want to mention before we close that Rishi Kumar was scheduled to be, had committed to be on the program. And I got a text from him yesterday that he didn't realize it started at 8:30, even though that was on all the communication, and that he had a schedule conflict. Um, Once again, three candidates, Bryan, Neysa, Yan, thanks so much for your participation today. And thanks so much to all of us and all of you in attendance in the audience for coming to the program. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.